welcome y'all to a special meeting in Merrimack Town Council where we will be having a public hearing for the operating budget and other warrant articles, and then we will address other issues. Okay, at this time, I would like to start out with announcements. I'm a little out of sorts. I forgot the pledge. Thank goodness again that Betty Spence is here. Thank you very much. If you could join us at this time for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again. I apologize. Thank you, Councilor Malzone and Vice Chair Spence. Okay, upcoming town council meetings through February, Tuesday, February 20th, 2007, 7 p.m. Proposed municipal bonds and notes. And again, we're going to be discussing a bond to finance the drainage improvements. That'll be in the town hall conference room. Again, that'll be in the smaller town hall conference room. Wednesday, February 21st to March 2nd is the filing period for town officials. Thursday, February 22nd, 7 p.m., regular council meeting, and we'll also be signing the final warrant and budget. Monday, February 26, 2007, deadline for posting warrant and budget. Okay, state news. The New Hampshire Department of Transportation will be holding an informational meeting to discuss the circumferential highway northern segment, whose purpose is to construct an additional bridge crossing the Merrimack River north of downtown Nashua and Hudson with connecting roadways. The state's 10-year transportation improvement program has funds programmed for construction of the northern segment in 2014 and 2016. The discussion will include the need for the northern crossing of the Merrimack River, the problematic section along the public water supply, Pennachuck Brook, possible reductions in the scope of the project, and availability of funding. The meeting will be held on Wednesday, February 28, 2007 at 5:30 p.m. at the Hudson Community Center, 12 Lyons Ave, Hudson, New Hampshire. The Merrimack Parks and Recreation Committee and Parks and Rec Department have scheduled the 15th annual Winter Carnival for Saturday, February 24th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Wasserman Park. Enjoy a day of free outdoor activities with your family. More important, please call the Parks and Rec Department at 882-1046. On Wednesday, March 21st, the Merrimack Parks and Recreation Department will sponsor a bus trip to the New England Flower Show at the Bayside Expo Center in Boston. The bus will depart from the Wasserman parking lot at 9 a.m. and will return to Merrimack around 4 p.m. The price is $32, includes bus transportation, your ticket for the show, and driver gratuity. In the event of low ticket sales, this trip may be canceled and a refund would be sent. Call the Parks and Recreation Department at 882-1046 to reserve your tickets. Okay, acknowledgement. I would like to thank the Merrimack Village District for providing us with water this evening. Okay, thank you. Next up, recognitions, resignations, and retirements. We have none. Appointments. We have none. Comments from the press and public. Okay, I don't see anyone coming up. And public hearing. Okay, before I call the public hearing into session, I'd like to go over just a few of the ground rules as we tend to do these so that we're all on the same page. Basically, the public hearing, we're here for one purpose this evening. We're here to take testimony. This is not a question and answer session. This is not a public debate. We are here to hear from the citizens of Merrimack with their input on our budget as it is presented now, and to listen to that input before we make votes following the hearing to move it forward. Again, this process has been almost 3.5 months for us. It's taken up close to 20 meetings, and we've gone back and forth and asked many questions and gone through it many times. But again, we are here tonight to hear testimony. I will ask people to form an orderly line and we'll go one at a time. Once everyone has spoken that has wanted to speak, then people that have already spoken may come up again. We will listen all night, but what I do ask is that we get in line, and it's not a situation where people wait for someone to sit down and then we lose 40 seconds while someone gets in line. At any point where no one is at the podium, I will close the public hearing. Okay. With that being said, you got a watch on us here? Okay, let the record show that at 7:20 p.m. I opened up the public hearing. And again, the purpose will be discuss the municipal operating budget, consideration of collective bargaining agreement for police and fire supervisory personnel, change in disabled exemption, change in veterans exemption, and term of the council chairman and vice chair. These hearings are being held pursuant to the requirements of New Hampshire RSA 4013-2B and Town of Merrimack Charter Article 8.3, and all I ask is that when you come up, whether it be the budget, the bargaining agreement, the disabled exemptions, or the term of the council chair and vice chair, you just state at the beginning what you are speaking to. Okay. Seeing no one at the microphone, what time do you have? 7:21. Let the record show that at 7:21 p.m. I close the public hearing. Okay. At this time, I'll ask for the pleasure of the board. And that would be in moving forward these items to the warrant. Betty?
I move that the 2007-2008 proposed municipal operating budget be moved to the warrant.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor of moving the operating budget to the warrant, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Okay, I believe that it went 5-2. You and, okay. Let the record show that the motion to move the operating budget as stated and as printed passed 5-2. Next up is the consideration of collective bargaining agreement for police and fire supervisory personnel. Again, at this time, I'm asking for a motion to move it forward to the budget as stated in our books. Betty?
I move that the collective bargaining agreement for police and fire supervisory personnel be moved to the warrant.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Betty, seconded by Tom. Discussion? All those in favor of moving the budget as stated in our booklets, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion,
Police and fire, is that the one that you just said?
yes.
Yes, voted no.
Okay, let the record show that the motion passed. 6-1-0 was Councilor Malzone voting in the negative. Okay, next up is the change in disabled exemption. Okay, do I have a motion to move that? Again, everything we're moving is stated in our budget books from the last meeting. Okay, is that a motion by you, Nancy? Motion made by Nancy, second? Motion made by Nancy, seconded by Tom. Discussion on the motion? Tom Mahon, I apologize. Motion made by Tom Mahon to the right. Okay. All those in favor of moving the change in disabled exemption to the warrant, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Let the record show that we're moving this to the warrant by a vote of 6-1. Next up, change in veteran exemption. Do we have a motion to move that forward? Okay. Betty?
I move that the veterans exemption be placed on the town warrant.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made by Betty, seconded by Councilor Malzone. Do we have any discussion? Okay. All right, then all those in favor of moving it forward, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0-0. And next up would be to change the term of the town council chairman and vice chair to basically show that it would change at the first council meeting after the yearly April elections. The way it is stated now, it goes for 1 year, which would mean the current terms of the council and vice chair would not expire until July 1st. So what we are looking is a motion to more or less move this so uniformly every year as a new council comes in, they can vote for who they would like to be their chair and vice chair at the first meeting. Okay, all those in favor of, excuse me?
There's no motion.
Okay. Would you like to make one, Tom?
No, I think it's premature, Mr. Chairman, given the notice requirements for this. They're required under the law.
Okay.
The printing of a public notice.
Okay, so on this one then, at this time, we will not move it forward, and my expectation is that it will be moved forward at a later time. Okay. Speaking of that, I am open to discussion, but my feeling as this process is fluid, and as Tom has mentioned, we have other items that still need to go through the proper publication period per se. It would be my preference that we hold off until February 22nd to vote on what we recommend and not recommend on the money items as a council. I think will be smoother instead of calling for a vote every time. Is there anyone that's opposed to that? So at this time, we have moved the first 4 bullets on, and as Councilor Mahon properly brought up, it would be premature to move on the 5th one, so we will not. Okay. Next up, legislative updates from state representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Representative Chris Christensen, representing Hillsborough District 19, which is the town of Merrimack. I have 2 or 3 items. You remember the discussion we had on the courthouse issue. The committee is recommending that bill be killed and that the town come back to the committee again probably next week or the week after when they're considering the capital budget. It's a smoother process for them. However, there was great value to doing the presentations we did when we weren't competing with anything else. If you think of your own budget process where you go through line by line, in this department and that department, after a while it all kind of melds together, if you will. So when we come back a second time, we will have made our point the first time, and now we'll be re-emphasizing it, and I'm very optimistic about that process. Because of the snowstorm, Wednesday, February 14th is being held tomorrow, and one of the bills on tolls, there's I think 5 bills coming up on tolls. One of them is being done tomorrow afternoon, and the others are being done Tuesday afternoon. And I can leave a list of them if you like. I'm not going to read them all now, but there's several different approaches. One with parity of tolls on the mainline tolls across the state, one with parity from town to town, another with diversity of where the money's coming and going, that kind of thing, and one that would allow removal of the toll booths if the governor and council eventually go along with changing the tolls to eliminate tolls at any particular booth. That one always gets hung up on how much is it going to cost to remove the toll booths, and I'm always willing to volunteer the volunteer services of the town of Merrimack and its citizens, because I think we could tear them down for free in about 3 hours. Other than that, I would appreciate any support in the form of a letter that the town might give to any of these toll issues. I will be in town hall all morning on other issues, and I'd be happy to give the details to the town manager and let him go forward however you folks want to do it. But it is important that we show some support. If there's anybody on the town council that can be in Concord tomorrow afternoon, the bill is at 2:45, or, Tuesday at 1:15, that would be a big help.
Chris,
If you all came, that would be a big help. So I'm just letting you know the schedule.
Chris?
Yes.
Are they both equal meetings? In other words, are they just having a few to allow people to get there at a convenient time? Is it more important to be at one as opposed to the other?
Probably not.
Okay.
The catch is that the bill that's being heard tomorrow afternoon is what's known as an early bill. In other words, it has to go to a second committee. The committee will hold executive session on that on Tuesday morning, at which nobody speaks except the committee. It's open to public observation, but only the committee members speak amongst themselves, and then they vote on the various bills, and it's hard to predict exactly what time they would be discussing that anyway. The other bills start at 1:15 Tuesday afternoon, and there's 5, and they go at 45-minute intervals until 4 o'clock, which would start the last one. The expectation is that people would speak most on the first one, and then once the committee had the background information from that first bill, then the sponsor would introduce the other bills, different sponsors, but all based on Merrimack representation. And the committee would ask questions relevant to that particular approach to toll relief.
Okay, at that, what I would mention then is, and I know you did, but I'll make it more formal, is we certainly don't have time to come up with any policy per se for the council to send forward to Keith or anyone else. I guess the only thing I would state would be if any member of the council would like to go forward and give their own views, by all means, or anyone at home that is watching this, and they would like to go up there and give their own views. Keith, if you could, Chris, if you could again say the times, but I do not think right now that we have it. We may want to, Vice Chair Spence, set up a meeting in the next couple of months or two, so that we can formally, at least with this current council, be on the record for where we stand, because I don't believe we ever have a vote that really says how we as a body feel. Okay, anyone object to that? Yes, Tom?
I was just going to ask Chris, which committee is hearing these? Are here?
Public Works, same committee you were at a couple of weeks ago. Room
Okay.
201 of the Legislative Office Building.
Well, the other option is also for people to, would it be possible for people to email that committee?
Absolutely.
Okay, and that would be, they could go onto the state, onto the legislature's site on the internet.
nh.gov, you go to government, go to legislature, look up the House committees, and that'll give you all the names of the people on the Public Works Committee and their email addresses.
Because I think with the timing of this, the email route might be a quicker route than to have someone sit down and write a formal letter, although they could probably make it by Tuesday. But anyway, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking more along the lines of if the town manager or somebody from the council wrote something that just says, the town of Merrimack has long suffered under this, we hope you can give us whatever relief you find yourselves able to do. Something generic that just says, we support this. But I agree with the position that you really haven't had a chance to take a vote or have it on an agenda.
Okay.
It's just sort of been ingrained in us for so long that sometimes we forget that you still have to go through those formalities.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I got a couple of things on that real quick. Keith? Hey, how you doing? I'm not looking to get real specific, and we're gonna talk to the council before we do anything. But do you feel you have a general consensus of how the people of Merrimack feel involving the tolls? Not necessarily the council, but the people of Merrimack. And I guess what I would like to ask, if the council by consensus would have an issue of Keith showing up and speaking on what his feelings are, Keith's own interpretation of what he believes, how the people of Merrimack feel about the toll situation. Again, he would be speaking as town manager, and he would make it clear he is speaking on the overall, trying to represent what he feels is the view of the people of Merrimack. Would there be any objection to him going in that capacity? Yes, Betty?
There's no objection. The question I have is, we have a meeting on Tuesday night. Are you going to be able to attend? Does your schedule allow you to do that? Because if it doesn't, then perhaps, I mean, the brief statement that Representative Christensen just indicated could be appropriate on a letter signed by the manager representing the council, if we are in consensus of that this evening. And I would presume that Representative Christensen might be able to pick that up and hand deliver it so it's there in a timely fashion, if that's more appropriate.
Well, I guess my question is, can you go to the meeting in person
Which meeting?
Tuesday?
Yes, I can. I think if I understood the representative correctly, my testifying would be around the 1:30, the bill frame, and then there shouldn't really need to be that much testimony beyond that, so I could be back in town in time for whatever meeting there is Tuesday evening with the council. Am I correct in what I said, what I was hearing, Representative?
That's correct.
Okay.
The hearing actually starts at 1:15.
1:15.
You wouldn't be the first speaker, the sponsor of the bill would be,
Sure.
so you're very close on the time.
Okay, yes, Tom?
Well, I'm in Concord daily, so I also have availability both tomorrow and on Tuesday, if that would be of any benefit to the council.
I personally believe it would be a great benefit, and again, I'm trying to make this as uncomplicated, as unpolitical as possible. And that's why I don't believe with this agenda, on the agenda, I'm not sure it's appropriate to get into a voting, so I guess I'm asking, is there any objection to Tom and Keith coming forward and giving their opinions, identifying themselves by position, and just a very concise statement? I think it's important they do show up in person, because we can send all the email we want, but I think it's important them to know that people in Merrimack are continuing to watch every move, and that we think it's valuable enough of us to send our people forward. Are there any objections? Okay, then at this time, I would ask Councilor Mahon, and, geez, the three of you, huh? People are going to start talking. No, I know. I'm looking, saying that we had them on the courthouse, and now they're our team representing us on the toll. So we're asking that Tom and Keith Hickey, again, give the views of the people of Merrimack on Tuesday. And if the three of you can touch base to make sure you're all on the same page, that would be great. Okay,
Thank you very much.
anything else, Chris?
One other bill that's coming to the Resources Committee tomorrow, House Bill 468, which has to do with creating historic districts. And right now, for whatever reasons, that bill lists Hudson, Nashua, Litchfield, Hollis, does not include Merrimack. Representative Hinkle will be presenting an amendment to the committee tomorrow to include Merrimack in that endeavor.
Okay.
I
Anything
have
else?
nothing else.
Again, we want to thank you again, Chris. You continue to lead the way in keeping us informed what's going on, and again, been very helpful in the courthouse situation, and again, helping us with the toll situation, so we thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, Town Manager's Report, Keith.
At this point, I have nothing to add to the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next up, old business, Watson Park Committee request to apply for LCHIP grants, tabled from 2/13, and to basically give a very quick synopsis of where we are. We will be having the Watson Committee coming before us, I believe, on the next week sometime, where they'll be coming and just giving us a better overall thing on where they are with fundraising and what they've been doing the last several months, which is quite a bit. This is a specific item we're talking about, where they have asked for authorization for us to sign a letter for them to go forward with LCHIP grant for a maximum of $20,000 with a 50-50 match from the town for the benefit of Watson Park, to include a parking area, small bathroom facility, and picnic tables. Due to the snowstorm yesterday and the federal people being the federal people, It has been difficult to Keith to get more or less a straight answer on some of the questions. One of the questions we had asked was, does it have to be 20,000 or 40,000, knowing we get it back? We did not get a straight answer on that. So I guess if everyone in their mind, the votes in the back of their mind wants to think we may have to come up with 40, I don't agree with that, but again, no one has stepped forward from the federal people to say it. Either way, it would be a net 20,000 per se, but again, it was a question and nobody was willing to step up and answer it. The next statement is whether or not we would be able to restrict people from town using the park. Again, the federal people being the federal people, and I say this with all due admiration and respect, they were not willing to step up and really put their name to a statement. But based on information we got from Ruth Rule to Keith, I think I can feel comfortable here saying that if we accept the L-chip grants, there would be no, anyone that comes into Merrimack would be free to use that property, period. It would not be a situation like it is with the ATV park where there's a sign that says Merrimack residents only. They would be able to use it. Okay, which brings us back to where we were when we last left this topic. And what they are looking for us to do is give authority for them to pursue. They don't get the money, then in the end, they don't get the grant. And also, the thing that must very much be remembered is the fact, as we've all been on this council a little while now, when the grant comes, we're going to have to vote again all over on it. We're going to have to vote whether we want to accept it. Maybe a different group of us here or not, but all this is giving them authority to pursue. My personal feeling is we can go back and forth on it all evening, and it's certainly our right to, but as we more and more talk about the tax burdens of the town and ways to improve the quality of life, and we have a group that's been meeting almost every Thursday for like 19 weeks, my personal inclination is I don't see what we have to lose by sending them forward to pursue. And like I say, in the end, it's going to be a different council that will be here, and they're all going to have their thoughts at that time, too. I don't think we have anything to lose. And again, I'm welcome, open to debate, but I do want to stress, and I saw it watching from home, watching the issues on the group at Wasserman Park, and also I was at this meeting, and I've been a selectman for 6 years, and I've watched it. We always put ourselves on a very fine line when all of a sudden people get the perception of we're willing to work and work and work for the town, and yet when we come to the town, all of a sudden the town gives us more red tape. I want to stress, we are not voting to accept the grant. That's all I'm saying is there is always a fine line that people one day will say, I'm just not going to do it because you know what, I don't need the aggravation. That's it. I really don't plan on getting involved in any more debate on it. My feeling is we should let them move forward. With that being said, I will leave discussion. Betty? Oh, Tom.
Well, I was just going to move that we authorize the Watson Park Committee to apply for the L-chip grant for the, per the parameters that are laid out on the agenda with the $20,000 with a match for the benefit of Watson Park.
Okay, motion made by Tom. Do we have a second? Motion made by Tom, seconded by Finley.
I'll second, but I also had a question. Did we have to take it off the table, or is that automatic?
It is automatic. When it is rescheduled onto an agenda, it is automatic. We do not have to remove. And I can only say that because about a month ago we had that question and we double-checked it. So by agendarizing, we're okay. Okay, motion made by Tom, seconded by Finley. Discussion? Tom?
Well,
Tom
I'm not
Koenig.
opposed to anybody using the park. I have no issue with that. I'm not opposed to developing the park. I am having trouble with the concept of looking for tax money to use to improve the park, and I'm also having trouble with going to L-chip because every time that I've seen L-chip money be involved, there's been a lot of government strings attached. And although we don't have all the information ahead of us today, I'm concerned that there will be the standard set of government strings controlling what we can or can't do with that park because they've invested some level of money in it. And so I would not be in support of applying for this grant.
Okay, I don't know if there's a hand up, but I'll speak to that. 8, I do not, especially our friends in the press, because sometimes that's the way people understand stuff. We are not looking at putting tax money. This is about them raising the money and bringing it forward. We may have to put it through a budget process to meet their needs, but we are not looking for tax money. And that has never been the issue. That is not the wishes of Mr. Watson, the council, or anyone else. We are looking to use them to raise the money. Second thing is, I agree with everything you said, Tom, on concerns, but again, as we tackle 100 things, I think sometimes we have to take some leaps of faith and find out what happens. We can cross that bridge when we come to it, and my concern is if every time we have a chance to go out and do something and we're worried what might happen, then we never at least take the chance. I think the people here have spent an enormous amount of time, and again, I think to at least allow them to take the run and see what they can do with it, it works. All I wanted to do was make a point that there were no taxes involved. Yes, Tom?
I'm not aware that LCHIP is funded by contributions from individuals, and so I suspect that it's funded by tax money that's raised either at the federal or the state level. And whether you want to consider that tax money of the people of Merrimack directly or not, I believe it to be tax money, and since I pay taxes to the federal government, I feel like it's tax money from my pocket as well, whether it be a very small amount or not. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 5-0. Will we have the paperwork for me to sign tomorrow, Keith?
Excuse me, I will sit down with Mrs. Rue at some point in the very near future, and we'll get that paperwork signed and into the state within a time limit, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And like I've stated before, and I'll say again, we all want what's best. We want to just make sure later we don't all have egg on our face. So I'm sorry you had to come back again this evening. Thank you all very, very much. Okay, no new business, no consent agenda, no minutes. Comments from the press? Comments from the public? Comments from the council, beginning with Tom Mahon.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There was an article in the paper the other day. Apparently, the city of Dover and the city of Laconia are sending letters to the legislature regarding public management membership on the retirement board. And I would just raise the issue with the council at this time, not for any action at this particular juncture, but just to let them know that there's a movement out there to try and do this. This is a follow-on from some activity that was conducted during the last session of the legislature to try and change the makeup of the governing board of the retirement system. And I think at some future date in the near future, we should consider the possibility of lending our support to that effort.
Thank you, Tom. Nancy?
Just 2 comments. One, I wish all our meetings were this short, but that's not going to happen.
It's not over yet.
It's not over yet. But I also wanted to take this opportunity to encourage everyone, first of all, thank everybody who came this evening, but also encourage everyone to attend the deliberative session so that this council can hear everyone's opinion regarding the budget and the warrant articles. Thank you.
Mike?
Yes, thanks, Dave. I'd like to just speak to one of my votes, which was the negative vote for the consideration of the collective bargaining agreement for the police and the fire supervisory personnel. You all know how I felt about that. I've gone through that contract that they had come up with, and as much as I had appreciated everything that was in that, there was one part which is the actual input from the employees into the health insurance that I am just still a little disappointed with. I was put on this job to try and be as fiscally responsible as possible. That's the only problem that I did have with that contract, so unfortunately that is the way that I had to vote with that. And I just wanted the people at home to realize and understand what it was that I was voting no against. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Betty.
Yes, I'd like to speak for a moment regarding the Watson Park request to apply for grant money. At the last meeting, I was the one that brought up several issues regarding application for the grant, as I had with prior requests from other individuals who had come before the council and asked for permission to apply for grants. They did, in fact, when they approached the council, they did have a plan. They let us know what that plan was. It was well-defined. I did have questions. Unfortunately, tried to receive those questions before this evening, and we weren't able to do so. The reason why I voted to allow them to proceed with their grant application is I don't think that they should be held back from the process. There is a deadline. It's not their fault that they didn't, or they were not able to obtain the answers to the questions. I would expect that between now and the time that we must accept the grant, or it comes to the council for consideration to accept, that we will have all of the answers to all of the questions that I asked. And at that point, I will bring up the concerns that I have or do not have, depending upon what that information provides. So I just wanted to clarify why I voted in favor of allowing them to proceed with the grant application itself. But I will have questions in the event that the grant is approved and must come to the council for further consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Kenny?
Thank you. I just want to say that I do appreciate the folks that did come out tonight. If you came out for the public hearing, I hope you got what you were looking for. Unfortunately, there was no summary offered. There was no summary printed and made available to you. I will point out that the entire budget is on the website. You can go through it line by line, department by department if you want. There have been quite a few changes in the budget this year. There have been some personnel reductions. I'm sure you've heard about several of them. And I would urge you to make yourself familiar with the budget. If you have any questions that obviously didn't come up tonight, by all means ask any one of us. Contact me if you feel like you need some help with understanding it. Certainly trying to find out where the major changes have been made in the budget. Please look into it, and please come out to the deliberative session, because that's going to be your true opportunity to speak on the situation throughout the entire warrant, not just the budget item. And so I do urge you to come out for the deliberative session and to participate in the voting. Thank you.
Finley?
All set, David. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to echo Tom's sentiments and thanking everyone that showed up tonight for the public hearing. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the deliberative session. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, motion made by Tom, seconded by Nancy. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 7-0-0. Thank you all very much.